There we
Can you
go.
see me? Okay. Sorry,
Yes.
my phone was acting up. It was fine, of course. Anyway, here we are.
Stuff is always perfect when you don't need it to be.
Exactly. Can you see me okay?
Yes, I can. Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
just want to make sure.
Good. Yeah, you got your ring light. You ready, huh?
Yes, I had to. I was like, let me at least try to. Of course, obviously, you see the reflection of it in my glasses.
Oh, yep. That's exactly how I just thought.
It's all right.
So how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It was a pretty chill day today, thankfully.
That's good.
Um, yeah. How are you doing?
I'm good. I didn't have such a chill day at work today, but I'm good. I haven't been at work. I was on vacation this weekend, so I'm happy. I'm
Oh, that's
happy.
good. Yeah, vacations are always the best. Whenever you get that time to kind of just get away, that's always the best.
Yes, so I
Yeah.
don't mind. I don't mind putting in some work today,
Yeah.
personal and work as well,
Yes.
personally and professionally, as they say.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming to Transformation Tuesday. Hi, everybody. This month we are going to talk about mental health, and I have my good friend Brittany Joseph with me. And
Uh,
she is a licensed clinical social worker, so she's just gonna, educate us a little bit because, to my surprise, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I
mhm.
didn't even know it. So what's funny is at the beginning of the year, I wrote out everything that I was gonna do for Transformation Tuesday, and it disappeared out my notebook. Like I don't never like rip out anything out my notebooks or anything, but it just disappeared out my notebook, and I looked at every page and didn't find it, and I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So I prayed one night before I went to bed, and I was like, God, give me a topic, give me a topic, and I just went to sleep. And when I woke up, I heard mental health, so I was like, okay, let me do mental health. So then I was just scrolling on Instagram, and I seen that it was Mental Health Awareness Month. And I was like, oh God, you're so amazing. That's so great. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I was so happy because I picked the perfect topic. But then I was like, okay, so who's going to speak? And then Brittany popped into my lap. So somebody recommended me Brittany, someone who I went to church with back in the day, recommended me Brittany, and I didn't even know that she was a clinical social worker. So, so Brittany is going to share with us a few things that she has learned about mental health as she does that for her job. So, Brittany, how long have you been a licensed clinical social worker?
All right. So I've been a licensed clinical social worker, like actually licensed since July of last year, but I've been involved in like social services for about 7 years.
Okay, that's
Um,
good.
yeah, kind of just working with like different populations and things like that.
Okay. So I always forget to do this. Tell everyone where you live, where you from, how you know me. What?
All right. So, as Shay said, my name is Brittany Joseph. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida.
Hey,
Hey, 305.
305.
Yo. Um, so I was born and raised in Miami. I currently live in St. Petersburg, Florida. Um, I met Shay at a church that we both used to attend. Um, and what else? I don't
You a
know.
South Florida bull?
Yes, I went to USF. That's my undergrad. I went to USF for my undergrad, and for my master's in social work, I went to the University of Southern California in LA. I didn't actually go to LA. I went to school online. But it's
LA's
the
nice.
yes. um, I I don't know. I'm happily married to my husband. We've been married for 2 years. I love I love what I do. I love helping others. I love kind of like walking alongside people in their healing journeys.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
when I met you, you were just always like a light, like a very sweet person. You always had a smile on your face or an encouraging word. So I think you in the perfect line of work. But what made you choose this line of work?
Well, I think like from from like my childhood, like from things that I went through and kind of support that I wish I had you know, when I was younger. And don't get me wrong, my mom did the best that she can, and I love her dearly, you know. I just think that there was just some additional support that I needed for what was going on at that time. And it's funny because like my whole journey with school is a lot, because I know like I always knew I wanted to help people, but at first I was like, I'm gonna be a doctor without borders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be a doctor. I'm gonna travel, you know, help kids in different countries. And I remember when I went to USF, I think I majored in biomedical sciences or something like that.
Oh.
And I was sitting in chemistry class, and I wasn't like doing bad, but I didn't feel at peace. I was like, I don't feel like this is what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like this is where I need to be.
Right.
So then I asked God, I said, God, you know, kind of, I just need direction on what you want me to do. I know I want to help people, but I don't know exactly how. So
Right.
kind of guide me on what you want me to do. So then I ended up changing my major to public health. And I was like, this is kind of okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then I changed my major again to sociology and women and gender studies. So I doubled majored in that. And then from there, doors started opening. Like I was meeting a lot of people, like for internships, like potential like job opportunities. So I found like, okay, this is where I need to be as far as like social services wise, like kind of like more like counseling, more like
Mm-hmm.
therapy, more that route. So I didn't start off as therapy. I actually started off working at a group home for human trafficking survivors, and then my career kind of just progressed from there.
Wow. Well, that's good. I guess you found your niche. Found, is that what niche? Yeah.
Yes.
You found what what made you feel like you were fulfilling your purpose in life. So on the topic of mental health, um, what does mental health actually mean? Because I think a lot of people have a stigma attached to it. At the African American community, definitely. Um,
Yeah.
so what is the actual definition of mental health and mental health awareness?
I think it's important. Like Mental Health Awareness Month is basically, honestly, this is something we should be doing often, even outside of this month. But it's basically asking ourselves, is my mind safe with me?
Mm-hmm.
Am I setting boundaries? Am I engaging in self care? Am I doing things that's nurturing my emotional well being? Am I being honest in my feelings? Is my mind safe with me? Because I think sometimes, you know, we go through life and we kind of go through the motions. We don't really take care of ourselves. We don't really set boundaries. We don't really do a lot of things like that we need to do in order to nurture our emotional well being. We're not
Mm-hmm.
honest with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then our mental health tends to suffer, or we tend to get burnt out, or we tend
Right.
to be more irritable and angry because our mind doesn't feel safe with us anymore.
Right. Right.
So mental health awareness is basically taking that step back to see like, is my mind safe with me? And if it's not, what can I do to make my mind safe with me again? What are some boundaries I need to put in place? What are some things I need to do for self-care? What are some things I need to do to kind of nurture my emotional well-being?
Okay, that's good. So, if we're not properly taking care of our mental health, does it progress to a mental illness, or are those two things not connected? Is there a difference? What is the difference between mental health and mental illness, or are they connected?
Well, to a certain extent, they are connected. Like anybody can have issues with mental health, but not everyone has a mental illness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like we all like sometimes get into stages where our emotional well-being is off. You get what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? However, mental illness is more so like something that's actually diagnosed
Mm-hmm.
where it really like impacts like your thoughts and behaviors rather than but mental health like issues are more so like I kind of strayed away from what I need to do for my well-being, and I just need to be realigned to do what I need to do, while as mental illness is it's not necessarily straight away. It's just that you've always been on the other side. And now you need to do things to kind of treat it, to stabilize it, whether it's medication, therapy, or whatever, you know what I'm saying, to kind of manage your thoughts and behaviors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes good sense. So, when dealing with, I guess mental health is more mild than mental illness. I guess we can go to talk about that later. when dealing with mental health, what are typically, the symptoms we should be aware of, if we need to, focus more, or if we have family members or people around us that we think are having challenges with their mental health, what are typically some of the things that we should look out for and help them with, so that we could be of help to them?
Yeah. So one thing to look out for is isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if it's somebody that you like talk to like often and you realize y'all haven't talked in a while, check on them and genuinely ask them how they're doing, Because I think sometimes, and I've always tell people this who know me, like, how people like when you say hi to somebody on the street, they'd be like, how are you doing? But they don't really care how you're doing.
Right.
It's just something like informal that you say. But I always tell people, like, when I ask you how you're doing, I mean it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I say, okay, how you doing? Or how you doing for real? And people who know me know I do that. Now, how you doing for real? You know what I'm saying? Because I actually care. So it's actually taking that time to really listen, to hear like where the person's head is at, as far as like how they're feeling, and what they've been going through. I think that's one of the main things, is just isolation, seeing like, if you notice that their behaviors have changed, like if you're around them, like, do they seem a little bit more down? Do they seem a little bit more agitated, distracted, like kind of like noticing it. And sometimes like, I think it's important, like when someone is having issues with mental health. Yeah, Sharna, you right? She said, yes, you do. That's so true. I think when someone has mental health, it's important to be like, it's important not to like, how do I say this? I'm just gonna say it. Not to be aggressive and be like, what's wrong with you? Like, like, why you acting like that? No, like, just say what you've noticed. Hey, I've noticed that you've been a little bit more down lately. What's been going on? Or I've noticed you seem a little bit more distracted, or seemed a little bit more like withdrawn. Like, what's been going on with you, right? I think it's just all in our approach. Because I'm a firm believer that the way you approach people will determine how they react to you.
Yes. And I know I have issues approaching people the wrong way, so
me too.
Good intentions, but I'm like, why you acting like that?
Exactly. So I think, so it's about the approach, because there's a lot of people like in my profession, right, who I used to work in a hospital, and then there are some people who had like issues with like mental illness, right? And the doctors would have so much issues like with the people, had so much issues, and then when I went to talk to them, right, I wouldn't have any issues, because when I see people, I don't see your mental illness. Your mental illness is a part of you, but it's not you. You're a human being outside of that. So I'm going to talk to you like a human being. You know what I'm saying? You just happen to have a mental illness. You just happen to have issues with your mental health, but that's not who you are. But if you approach somebody from the perspective of their illness, of course, you're going to probably not get a positive response, because you're talking to a human being.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's always been my approach with anybody who has had mental illness or any issues with mental health. And I'm talking about people who have had schizophrenia, people who have had schizoaffective disorder. I didn't really have much issues with them, because it's important to treat everybody like human beings. Period. That's just my philosophy, and it's worked so far. Of course, some people who got some attitudes every now and then. That's normal. But for the most part, like, it's worked whenever I approach somebody as a human being and not as a disease.
And that's good, because mental health is what you're dealing with. It doesn't define you. It's not who you are, like you said. So if you notice symptoms in someone, is it always mean that something happened, like there was a trigger, or can it just be, like maybe hormonal? Or I'm sure there are many triggers, but a lot of people kind of equate mental illness and mental health to, oh, they went through something traumatic. But is it possible to just have, just some mental health issues really without have dealt with anything traumatic? It's just growing up.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of like growing pains. I think like sometimes we have this idea that, oh, like, if I have like a successful career, if I have the things that I like and need, then I should be happy, right? But the thing is that, like, happiness is a trap. And here's why I say that. Happiness is a trap
Yes.
because it's like, we're not going to always be happy. There's going to sometimes be moments in life where we're like, I think I want more, or
Right.
I think, I don't know, there's just something that I'm not really satisfied with. And that's okay. You get what I'm saying? To have those moments. And not everything has to be traumatic. You get what I'm saying? It could be that maybe, like you said, from growing, maybe you're at a certain point in your career where you're thinking about doing something else, right? And it's not a bad thing, right? It's just as you're growing and learning your experiences, you realize like, okay, maybe this is not compatible to me anymore.
Right, right.
And then a lot of times we think about like, man, I should be happy because I'm in this certain career, but it's like, we can't expect that if we fit in this box, like if we fit this box, then our humanness is just somehow is going to mold to the box. No, our humanness is a journey. It's not just a moment.
Right.
Our human experience is a journey. So it's important to remember that so we don't get caught, like I said, in the happiness trap where we feel like we need to stay in a certain box because it quote unquote makes us happy when we're really not happy. It's about growing like with our experiences, growing with just being honest with ourselves on where we're at currently, because how I thought when I was 18 is not how I think now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's kind of like being honest with yourself in your journey and understanding that there is no box that you need to fit in. You just need to be honest with yourself in your journey and go along with that, however that looks like.
Yes, I like that because we do try to box stuff in a lot. Us as a culture, and then us as just our generation, we box things in. I think our generation is more open with discussing like mental health and any type of anything like that. I think we're more open to discussing it, but a lot of people kind of just put, if you say you have a mental illness or I need a mental health day or something like that, people are like, oh, she in a crazy house, or you know, just anything. And then I noticed like a lot of employers now give you a mental health day because you just want to take time to rejuvenate. And one thing I've seen that they're talking about a lot now is mental health issues with children and kids, teenagers. I think that is a demographic that's been looked over for years, and parents have been known to tell their kids like, you ain't got nothing to worry about. Why you having issues? You don't have nothing to be concerned about, or you know, things like that. And have you dealt with you know, children who are dealing with mental illness or mental health, or how can parents notice signs and symptoms or be able to help their children go through this as they're going through it?
Yeah, I mostly work with adults now, but I have worked with teenagers. And one thing I encourage parents is remember that your teenager or child is a human being. Yes, they're your child, but they are a human being. So the same way you have feelings and you have experiences, they do too. And even though they may not communicate it the way that you would communicate it, doesn't mean it's not real, doesn't mean it's not valid.
Right.
So it's kind of like, again, talking to your child as a human being and saying, hey, like, I've noticed blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying? Instead of saying like, what's wrong with you? You have everything you need. Why are you acting like this? You know, it's talking to them like they're a human being. And I think sometimes as parents, you know, I'm not a parent yet, so, but I just have this firm belief that sometimes we allow our roles to kind of get in the way of our humanness. Like, yes, you are a parent, but you're a human first. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes, they are your child, but they are a human first. So that's how you connect with them. Right. And also it also allows them to see that their feelings are okay.
Right.
So if I see mommy and daddy, like, you know, or whoever my parents are, or whoever is taking care of me, if I see them like actually showing interest in how I'm feeling and they're giving me that space to express how I'm feeling, now I can be safe with my feelings, right? That teaches me that I can be safe with my feelings, and that goes a long way when you're an adult.
Right.
And the thing is that unfortunately, when parents don't do that, when parents don't teach children how to be safe with their feelings, they don't know how to manage them. And then oftentimes they're angry or irritable or everything like that. And honestly, you know, anger, right? Even though
Mm-hmm.
it's an easy emotion to express, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anger is just a manifestation of other vulnerable emotions that hasn't been expressed.
Yeah.
Maybe it's I felt lonely, or I felt misunderstood,
Mm-hmm.
or I felt hopeless, or I felt helpless, or I felt shame. But
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying those feelings, because I have never been made safe to feel vulnerable, it's easier to be angry. So
Right.
when the world sees me, I'm angry, but internally I feel alone, or I feel
Right.
scared, or I
Right.
feel afraid, or whatever. But when you teach your children early that vulnerability is okay, that feelings are okay, and that's
Mm-hmm.
a part of your human experience, then it allows them to grow into emotional, healthy adults. Like as they get older, and they can pass that on to their children too. That emotional like well-being. That
That's
makes
true,
sense.
because I believe a lot of the adults that are walking around with mental illness and mental health issues are hurt children. They're just
Mm-hmm.
kids who weren't able to express how they were feeling when they were young. And I always say, I don't have kids either, but I always be like, don't talk to little people like that. Like, little people have feelings too, because that's all they are, little humans. And sometimes little humans don't get to have feelings because
Mm-hmm.
their parents feel as if they shouldn't. And those people grow up to be very broken individuals as adults.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because what tends to happen is I remember my one thing that I learned from one of my teachers during my master's program. He applied this like to like employment, but I feel like this could apply anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when someone says like I've had 25 years of experience somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, okay, did you have 25 years of experience, or did you just repeat the same year 25 times?
Wow.
So what we have is sometimes we have parents, right, who have children who, when they were 5 or 6 years old, they were told that feelings are not okay. So instead of learning how to embrace their feelings, they just been repeating 5 years old over and over again until they became an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And now that same 5 year old child is talking to their 5 year old child.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it just repeats the cycle, right? So instead of growing up, you just have a whole bunch of 5 year olds and 6 year olds trying to manage other 5 and 6 year olds.
Yeah. The blind leading the blind. That's good. That's a good example. The B. Allen show, Brian. He
Yeah.
says, right, so true. Most times it's not recognized or acknowledged, much less addressed growing up with, children growing up in households like that. And De'Erica said that she does this with her brother often. They have daily talks. She also allows him to express his emotions and how to regulate them. And that's good. That's good for you, De'Erica. De'Erica is raising her younger brother. So she probably has the different, mother type of dynamic where I'm your mother's sister. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you have to have different tactics raising your younger brother. So kudos
Mm-hmm.
to you, De'Erica.
Yes, and kudos to teaching your brother that it's not physical health is not the only thing that's important. Mental health is. You know what I'm saying? Because if the head is sick, everything else is sick.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of even doctors like physicians are finding that a lot of mental health issues are tied to physical ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes if we feel anxious or things like that, we get stomach aches, we get headaches. Sometimes it can cause ulcers or different physical things.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that our mind, body, and soul is connected. So it's important to raise a holistic human being rather than seeing like one part as less important and the other part as more important. All of it is important.
Yes, that's true. So, in your line of work, when you've dealt with, be it kids or adults, what have you found were some of, coping mechanisms for dealing with mental health, or treatments or therapies that worked best, for those dealing with mental health and mental illness?
For some people, journaling helped out a lot, like kind of like getting their thoughts out of their head. For some people, exercising
Mm-hmm.
helped a lot. Listening to music, taking a walk, like going outside
Mm-hmm.
or going for a run, calling like a close friend that they feel like they can be vulnerable with and talk to has been helpful. Some people paint as as a way to kind of like regulate their mind. Some people do poetry. Um, what else? Some people knit,
Mm-hmm.
like knit things. Heard a lot of stuff. some people do like house projects. Like I know a lot of people who sometimes they do like woodworking. So they build like birds or
Okay.
different things like that, like out of wood. Um,
A lot
it's
of
like,
art type things here.
yeah, a lot of
Hmm.
artsy things. Because I think what some people don't know is that whenever we experience something that's very uncomfortable, the part of our brain that shuts down is language. So I
Wow.
don't know if you ever thought about like when something really bad happened, you couldn't really put the
Yeah.
words to it because that part of the brain shuts down. And it's found that like sometimes expressing those uncomfortable emotions through the arts, whether it's journaling or painting or dancing or writing poetry, it kind of helped kind of revive that language part that was kind of shut down during the trauma. So it kind of
Right.
helps you put words to what happened so that you can actually address it.
So that would make sense kind of to why certain people don't talk when they're upset or want to go to another room. And I'm one of those people, I have to talk through my upsetness. But if I'm dealing with someone who wants to shut down, it aggravates me. And I'd be like, why won't you talk? Or, anything. I'm trying to figure
Yeah.
out why you're not talking or why you want to get away from me. But that would make sense because, I mean, I don't know if I use that if my brain shuts down the same way. But
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense as to why certain people can't express how they feel because I'm a very vocal person and I know everyone's not vocal like me, but I expect them to be vocal if they're dealing with me, but that's unfair of me obviously. But I know everyone's not as vocal like that. So that makes perfect sense as to why certain people shut down or can't explain how they feel or don't want to talk about things at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it shuts down. And if they don't have like another outlet, right, that
Mm-hmm.
thing, it tends to build up again. Those vulnerable emotions tend to build up and then eventually it becomes anger um, or frustration. So no, you're fine. So now anytime someone like deals with an emotion that's vulnerable because they're not used to expressing it, it's just easier to be angry.
Right. Um, Brian and Deerica, they both say that they self isolate and shut down. Deerica says, but I'm learning to move towards my opposite or what's comfortable to me. That's good.
That
That's
is
good.
good.
It takes work to change your behaviors if you don't
Mm-hmm.
know that they're damaging to you. Or, I mean, it just takes work, period. Because mental health is, I guess, I won't say it's fairly new, but it seems like it's fairly new with people discussing it, talking about it, and getting help.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we have like, if there's some people who are watching this who feel like they're dealing with mental health issues, what do you suggest that they do?
Well, one thing is, again, like evaluate your boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
I found that a lot of times when we struggle with mental health is because we haven't set boundaries. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if I don't understand the value of what I'm protecting, or if I don't understand the value of what I'm protecting, I can't protect it. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I had a debit card, I'm not gonna just hold it out for you to take. I'm gonna put it in my wallet because I understand the value of it.
Right.
So it's understanding the value of my mind and soul, right? And seeing how do I protect it? Meaning saying no when you want to say no.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? And saying yes when you want to say yes.
Yeah.
Engaging in spaces that you want to engage in rather than spaces that you feel forced to engage in. So it's things like being honest with your feelings, being honest about where you are currently.
Mm-hmm.
That's like setting boundaries, right? Because again, that's protecting your mind and your soul. So it's starting to evaluate your boundaries and also evaluating your self-care. I think sometimes like people feel like, okay, I need an hour to do certain things. But
Mm-hmm.
if you ain't got no hour, you feel like, well, I can't engage in self-care. But throughout the day, you can always find like pockets of spaces where you can devote time for yourself, even if it's 15 minutes. If
Mm-hmm.
you spend 15 minutes watching a show or spend 15 minutes journaling or spend 15 minutes going outside, you get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That's 15 minutes that you spent with yourself. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of reevaluating um, how you engage in self-care rather than focusing on one way of doing it.
Right. I think a lot of people get burnt out because they don't take the 10 or 15 minutes to themselves at
Mm-hmm.
all. And I know a lot of
Yeah.
people, they may feel like they don't have time, which some people don't. I know some days I feel like I don't have time, but sometimes when I pull up in my driveway, I sit in my car.
Mm-hmm.
Just sit in my car before I go in the house because I know when I get in the house, it's going to be this, that, and the third. And I mean, even for people with kids, I'm sure when they go in the house, it's going to be all types of stuff. So I just sit in my car and unwind real quick before I go in the house. Sometimes I sit in the car a little too long, but
It's
I be in there
fine.
for an hour or two on the phone. But sometimes I make sure I sit in there at least 5 minutes before I go in my house, just to kind of unwind before I start my day.
Yeah, and that's really good because we all need that reset. We all need that time to kind of uh like regroup. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't be always on 100. We weren't built that way.
That's
You get what
true.
I'm saying? We weren't built that way because eventually we're gonna explode, right? It's important that we replenish our well frequently so that we don't explode. You get what I'm saying? Um, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I was gonna say something else, but I completely forgot. It
Well,
just went
remember,
away.
you can
So
always chime
frustrating.
in.
Yeah.
Charna Dove says no students are allowed in my classroom during lunch, and I watch a comedic show or video. That's her
Yes.
daily self care. That's good.
That's really and that's what it was. Lunchtime.
Hmm.
Take your lunch break.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Take your lunch break. Them notes, like I had to make because I'm a therapist, right?
Hmm.
So I have to do notes right after I see clients. But I was like, no, I'm gonna take this 30 minutes and I'm gonna eat.
Right.
I'm gonna retrain my mind because after my break, I have to be on and be and engage with someone in counseling.
Hmm.
And if Brittany is not present with Brittany, I can't be present with anybody else. So
That's
you
good.
take yeah, so you have to take your lunch break because my mom always told me this. She said, "Never kill yourself for no job."
Ever. I tell people that
Never,
all the
never. Because she said
time.
the moment you cannot do your job anymore, they'll just roll you over and put somebody else while your seat is warm.
They really will. They really
So,
will.
so it's important that you take care of yourself. Take your breaks. Use PTO.
Yep.
Use sick leave.
Yep.
Take that time to get away so that you can be replenished, so that you can be refreshed, and that you can see things a lot more clearly. And you
Hmm.
won't feel as burnt out at work, or you are less or unmotivated at work when you actually take that time to invest in yourself.
That's really good because I work for the government, and a lot of people sit at their desk and eat. They don't never get up. And I started working for a boss. She was a go getter. She's one of the best bosses I ever had. But she worked us. We worked, and I never took my lunch at all. But sometimes it don't matter if it was past lunchtime, 2 or 3 o'clock. I would just get up and walk outside, go to my car, or do something just so I can get away from my desk for 20 or 30 minutes if I didn't take a lunch. But like you said, those jobs don't care about you. And I tell
Mm-mm.
people that, I tell my friends that all the time. I remember when I was young, my dad, he used to work a lot. He was a drill sergeant. So he worked, overnight. I don't know, maybe it was 6 or 7 days a week. I don't really remember, but I know he was at work a lot. But as we got older, he made sure he took off where he could take off. He was at every band recital, every cheerleading rehearsal, every football game. He was at everything. And even if it was a work something, my oldest brother, if he has a show in Miami, he'll catch a flight if he can and go down there. And ever since I seen my dad start doing that, I do it because I'm like, you know what? I have the time. I worked hard to gain this time. Like you don't want to take off. Um, One of my friends wanted me to go somewhere with him, and I don't remember what it was. It was something random. Maybe the shoes were coming out. I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was on a Thursday, and I was like, I can take off because it was like a once in a lifetime. The only time you get these shoes, and I was like, I could take off, and he was like, I don't want you to have to take off work, and I was like, okay, well, will there be another opportunity for you to do this? And he was
Yeah.
like, no, and I was like, well, then I'll go with you because if I die tomorrow, my job will have somebody new in my seat on Monday. So it's
Mm-hmm.
it's not even it's not even an if and or but about it. Like, of course, I'm not going to leave my team if we're doing something, but as far as the company goes, they're not going to care anymore about your mental health than you are. So if you need a mental health day, take it. Even if you just want to go shopping, take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give yourself that permission. A lot of times we don't give ourselves that permission to have compassion for ourselves. We have compassion for everybody else, but we don't give ourselves that same compassion, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's important to extend that compassion like to ourselves, to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I always think about this, like when you go on the plane, right? you know, that little demonstration, you know, that they always do with the seatbelt and the mask and all that stuff. I said, you know, one time I'm going to actually pay attention.
Right.
So I was out, they were doing the demonstration for the mask thing. And they said, you know, when the mask come down, put it on yourself first before you put it on the person next to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, if my husband can't breathe, I need to make sure I need to put the mask on him. But then I took a step back and I thought about it. If I can't breathe, he can't.
Yes. You gotta
So
help
I need
first.
you. I have to put the mask on me first, so I can breathe. So everything and everybody attached to me can breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about how, and it's important to think about too, like in mental health awareness, how many things am I killing because I'm not breathing?
Yep. That's
How
good.
many things attached to me am I killing because I'm not breathing?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the time to put the mask on ourselves so that we can breathe, so that all the things and all the people that are attached to us can breathe as well.
But you are wife of the year for thinking about your husband.
Yeah. That's just me. And I mean, that's anybody. If it was my mom, my sister, a friend, like anybody sitting next to me, I want to make sure that they're good, you know?
Like I always say, you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's
if the
true.
cup is empty, then I can't pour nothing. But if I fill my cup up, then I can pour something into you. And
Yeah,
I always say that
exactly.
because I can't help you if I'm not no good.
Exactly.
Some people get their mojo or they get their energy from helping other people, but you still got to take time back and rejuvenate. You got to rejuvenate yourself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's a difference between helping people to help people or helping people to ignore you.
Exactly.
Those are two different things.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? Like, because sometimes people help others because it takes the attention away from themselves, from working on themselves.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy because you never know what you are killing because you're not breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're helping people, but you don't know if what you're helping is actually hurting them because you ain't breathing.
You're neglecting you, and that's something that I've just been learning all year is stop putting other people before your because once you put other people before you, it kind of ruins your own happiness in the end because you still might not be, like you said, happy is that word. You might not be at the place that you wanted to be after you got done pleasing everybody and doing everything for everybody else. So take care of yourself first, and if that's what gives you peace of mind, then move on to them.
Yeah.
That's good. So how can we as a Black community kind of change the stigma attached to, mental health and mental illness, health related issues? I mean, all of those things. Like, how can we I tell people all the time, they always be like, oh, well, pray about it. Well, okay. But prayer and therapy are the two things that will work. And therapy is something that's just, I think we're dropping the stigma a lot with it. But are there any other things that we can do collectively to kind of change the stigma?
I think it's our approach to vulnerability. Vulnerability is not for white people.
Vulnerability, that's the word.
Vulnerability is not for white people. It is a human characteristic. That means if you have a heart, if you have organs, you're a human being, regardless of what race you are. Vulnerability is a characteristic for all human beings. And I think that needs to be encouraged more. Like Derica said, how she does with her brother, like giving him that space to express his emotions and how to regulate that. We need more spaces like that we need more safety for emotions, positive or comfortable or uncomfortable, right? It's kind of like redefining vulnerability. Vulnerability is not a weakness because people think strength is how much you can carry, but no, strength is knowing how much I can carry.
Yeah,
it's knowing how much I can carry. Exactly. Because, sometimes, especially as Black people, we feel like, we need to just save face and keep it all together while we're deteriorating. That's not strength.
Yes.
That's suicide, honestly.
It is.
That's suicide because you're killing yourself slowly. That's why our race has a lot of issues with high blood pressure, heart conditions, different things like that, because we tend to hold a lot of things in. So it's kind of like redefining vulnerability, creating those spaces to share emotions, comfortable or uncomfortable, and not demonizing people who have mental health issues or demonizing people who have mental illness, seeing how you can support them, You
I
know,
like that.
seeing how you can support them. If they have issues with transportation and you're available and they need to go to their therapy session, take them to it. Different things like that, like finding how you can support rather than kind of dismissing it as a white people issue.
Yep. I like that. I wish I could be like on Sesame Street and say the word of the day is vulnerability.
Vulnerability.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
That is strength. China Dove says, as hard as it is to be vulnerable and transparent, that is strength, and that really is strength because
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable is it's like you said, everything in a nutshell. Everything in a nutshell, because it's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to be honest with yourself. That's the hardest part too, is to admit that you may have, some issues going on and that you may need some help. Because a lot of people are not going to admit that. But
Yeah. And
yep,
we're humans. We're humans. Like, we're not perfect. Perfection is not something we can strive for. At least here on this earth, we we, we won't be perfect. You get what I'm saying? So it's important that we acknowledge every part of us, because even the ugly part of us are a part of us.
mm-hmm.
Even the ugliness is a part of us. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, it makes us who we are. It shaped our experiences. It shaped like how our perspectives on how we view things. So it's important to acknowledge that that part of you exists.
yes, that's true. That's true. Does anybody out there have any questions they want to ask Brittany or want to come on and say a comment?
I don't know why I'm not seeing the last comment I see was, "Hey everyone, welcome to my podcast," but I'm not seeing any
That's
other.
my pinned comment.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else.
You aren't. Yeah, I see all the comments. I don't know if that's because I'm running it or because you could see them before, couldn't you? Uh-oh. What did she press? Brittany. Oh, let me see. Mm-mm-mm.
Okay, I'm back. I was like, what happened?
I thought it was me at first.
No.
Yes. So, I don't think no one had any questions, but thank you so much, Brittany. Is there anything else that you want to say or want to leave us with? Um, Anything you think can help us?
Uh, no, I guess the main thing is that if you're feeling like you are needing some support, needing like help, it's okay to seek therapy. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
believer. I love Jesus, and I believe that
I
God
know that's
has.
right.
I know that God has put these resources in place to complement Him, not to replace Him, but to complement Him. So it's important that it's okay to pray and it's okay to go to therapy. I've done that. I've gone to therapy, for things I need to sort out through, and I've prayed
Me
about
too.
it,
Yes.
and it was very helpful because it helped me like kind of like rethink my emotions and rethink the way God sees our emotions. He gave them to us for a reason, right? So it's important that we acknowledge and process our feelings without allowing them to consume us and to control like our behaviors.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Um, Ted Senior has a comment, but I'm not sure if he knows how to join.
Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good afternoon. Actually, good evening. I tremendously enjoyed Brittany. I just thank you for your openness. I just thank you for your willingness to be frank, especially with a mental health. Even within the African American community, we have many issues. Even when we
Mm-hmm.
try to get people help, they feel like, well, I don't need any help.
Yeah.
Yes, you do need some help, because if you don't get it today, it's going to impact you down the road. I just appreciate you all just sharing different things. Shay, I appreciate you sharing about just taking time off. and it's a blessing just to be able to take time off. Sometimes I see people have all these sick hours, 700 sick hours. I said, why are you saving those? The reality of it is you fall over and die tomorrow. Guess what? They are going to put somebody in your seat. The mission and the purpose, it must goes on. And so I just thank and praise God for all you sharing. And also, sometime in life, you don't get do-overs. So you just have to take that opportunity. One thing that I learned from COVID changed the paradigm, the landscaping on a lot of things. I know we used to say that tomorrow ain't promised to us. Yeah, we know that tomorrow isn't promised to us. But the reality of it is, COVID have hastened a lot of things. And so, therefore, you really don't know if tomorrow promised because it isn't. And so I encourage all of you just take time, even with your families and stuff, because a lot of them, like Shay said, a lot of them dance reciters, a lot of things, you don't get deal overs. Once upon a time, I missed a lot of things because mission in the military required me to miss a lot of things. But when I had the opportunity, I made sure, even spring break, we always took a spring break. It was just a week, a couple of days. One thing I love about my wife, she made sure that we went somewhere, and it didn't have to be nothing major. The simplicity of things. So just take your time, enjoy life, because the reality of it is, you here today, you can go on tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and that's so true.
Oh yeah. Then I like the analogy you gave about the airplane too, Brittany, because the reality of it is you can't help someone if you passed out. And I used to think that was because I fly a lot. I just think that's so cruel. What you do, you mean you put your mask on first, but when I really reflected and thought about it, you're right. They're right. If you pass out, no help.
No.
Yeah.
True.
So I appreciate you all, and because I got family members sometimes try to get them mental health. Oh, ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm okay. But the reality of it is, you're not okay. Matter of fact, I tell people that I talked to two therapists, one for some military issues and one just to talk. Yep.
Yeah, and there's no shame in it. There's nothing wrong with it.
And the majority of the insurance, they pay for it.
Yeah.
It's true.
All you have to do is come out the pocket with your copay. If you don't have a copay, ask somebody. They give you $10, $15, or $25 to help your mental stability. Yeah, but
and they
that's
also
all I'm
have.
saying. I don't want to say a hard conversation.
Fine. Yeah, and also to what you said, they also have like employee assistance programs too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they give you they give you like an amount of sessions. Like some give like 10 or 8 or 5 or 3, depending on how much you need, and you don't have to pay for those sessions.
You don't have to pay for anything. Yeah. All you have to do is show up and be open, and that's another safe. I call it a safe space, like a safe space where you go and just put it out there and say ABC. Yeah.
They also have like it's just specifically for Black women. They have something called the Loveland Foundation, and they provide vouchers to like Black women who may not have insurance or may not have access to the employee assistance program. They give them a voucher for a certain amount of therapy sessions. So if they want to go to therapy, they can actually engage in therapy, but it's only specifically for Black women. I think they're trying to extend it to all women of color, but for right now, it's only for Black women.
Oh, okay. That's really good.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah. Okay, once again, I thank you all. How do I look, Shay? Because you look beautiful, baby. How do I look?
Thank you.
do you got my good side? Or can you see my good side? How do I look, girl?
You look good, Dad.
Oh, okay. That's what I need to know. Well, y'all be blessed, and I appreciate the talk, and we're just going to continue to preach the gospel of therapy.
Thank you for your input.
Yes, thank you. Okay. It was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well. And thank you for what you do and continue to do what you do. The best is yet to come for all of us.
Yes. Thank you. That. Yes, I received that too.
How do I get off this, Shay?
I think you press in.
I don't have it in. I'm on my little iPhone, and this thing.
I don't know what the icons say.
Okay. But that's okay. That's okay.
You found it. Just exit out the app and it should close.
Okay. Oh, that's a smart way to do stuff.
All right.
Amen. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Yes, thank you for that. It was something he said. Oh, the resources that you had. Can you send those to me and I can put them in the email? If anybody doesn't, if anyone doesn't have, if I don't have your email already, you can DM it to me and I will send them out in the email just for the next Queendom Business email. It was something else he said that I wanted to say something about, but we running up on time anyway. So that was great. Oh, you said the EAP program. Yes. So I use the EAP program at my job. I work for the government, and I'm sure for most government agencies it's the same. For each issue, they gave me, I think it was 8 sessions, and I had a really good therapist. I just loved her. I had a good therapist. I had a guy, and then I had a girl. But they just kept, you know, in therapy, other issues come up. So for our agency, it was per issue. So they kept, oh, let's talk about this issue, and then gave me 8 more sessions. Let's talk about this issue, and gave me 8 more sessions, and then, you know, referred me to a new therapist because I couldn't have that person but for so long. But that's how they were able to kind of stretch the program, and it was completely free, no copay because it was through my job. So I tell a lot of people, in college students, your school has free therapy too.
Yeah,
so at colleges, universities, in most jobs that are like corporately funded, or what is it called, private sector jobs, they offer EAP programs as well. So just check into that, and those are some free options where you don't have to pay your little $20 copay, because sometimes I don't want to pay that. But yes.
Yeah, so it's out there. So take advantage. And yeah, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to need support. It's okay to be human.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me, Brittany. I really appreciate you. Yes, if any of you guys were on here with Brittany, feel free to follow me at queendombusiness.com. What am I talking about? At Queendom Business. My Instagram at Queendom Business. This will be uploaded to YouTube today or tomorrow, probably tonight. I'll upload it and you guys can get the playback. So join me next month. I think I will be talking about travel and leisure. And yeah, that should be fun because the summertime is coming up. Woo! We're going to be traveling. Having fun. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Brittany.
Of course.
Have a good night.
Yes, have a good night, guys. Thank you, Shay, for having me on here. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Bye.